Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of Pond Hopping PA. This episode's going to be a little bit different. Okay, we got 5 lures here, and we're just going to go through each one, kind of tell a story about what happened while using these certain lures. Now, I'm sure you guys have crazier stories than I do with fishing. If you do, feel free to comment either on this video or on any of our Instagram posts, and we'd love to read them. Alright, now to start things off, we're going to start with Rapala X Prop. Now, I've never used this bait right here, but if anybody has ever had, it was an old Rapala fishing game for PC. It was like your starting topwater bait, and you would literally slay on this. Like, this is the only thing you would need. Like, you could throw it in like 35 feet of water and still catch big bass. I'm not sure how realistic that is, but hey, we'll see next spring how this is gonna work out. Can't wait to throw this on a line and cast it out there and see what we can catch. But yeah, that just brings back a memory of playing on my mom's computer as a little kid and being able to just catch bass anywhere with this prop bait. Okay guys, next bait, we got it's a Rebel shallow diving crankbait. Literally just goes right under the surface and just barely dances on the surface. And I've never caught one on this particular lure, but it brings a memory back to me of when I was visiting my cousins in South Carolina, maybe 5 years ago. I was pretty young, but we were down there, and they have pretty good ponds in their neighborhood, so we were fishing them, and I was literally running up and down the bank, just like trolling this lure, and like literally every 5 feet you would at least get a strike, or a fish you'd actually like hook the fish and be able to catch them. And we've made our way around the pond a few times. Pretty big pond, probably bigger than the pond you guys are used to seeing us fish. And I decided to start casting it. I casted right into this humongous willow tree. But yeah, and the line snapped, and it was so high up in the tree. I was determined to climb up there and retrieve my lure just because how well it was. And I could not get to the lure. It was probably 35 feet up into this tree, and there's no way I could get it. But the line broke off, and I think we were down there for Easter, but my cousins ended up making me a fishing lure. Like they had like a blank body for like a crankbait, and they painted it with like nail polish. I think I still have it somewhere, but yeah, there's no way. Like I had crayon like color on it. It was bad. But, I mean, it was the thought that counts. Our third lure of the day, we have a crocodile spoon. Now, you can either jig these, or you can just, like, cast them out and retrieve, and they'll spin everywhere like crazy. My dad and I were walleye fishing in Pymatuming. It's smaller than Lake Erie, but it's up that direction, from me at least. It's in PA. There is an Ohio side of the lake also, but we usually only fish the PA side. But we were done walleye fishing, and we had a few crappie, a few walleye, and my dad was filleting the fish. And I was at the boat ramp, and I was like, well, I'll just cast a few more times. It's not like I'm going to catch anything. Not going to lie. Probably 5 casts in a row. Caught keeper walleye. And we probably only had 2 in the boat from earlier, and I was like, oh yeah, we'll keep these, and I kept bringing them to my dad, and he's like, alright, well, like, you can't catch any more, and I was like, okay, I'll just go cast, and I just kept catching these walleye. They were all over this spoon. That was the first time I've ever, like, thrown a spoon and actually had it work. So that was pretty exciting that we went from having, like, 2 or 3 walleye to, like, 7, and, like, I mean, granted, we were at the boat ramp for way longer than we anticipated. We were like supposed to be home, but I mean, I'd rather be late and have a bunch more fish than be on time and have 2 walleye. So yeah, it has like a blue, like kind of tiger stripe on it, but it did the trick. It was on like a rocky point, and we were just launching it out to a weed bed, and I just managed to catch like 5 in a row on that thing. It's pretty nice. Our fourth bait is a Bass Pro Shop bluegill swim bait. I actually think it's in one of our previous videos. The first time I tied this on, first cast, I launched it across the pond that we usually fish, and I caught one first cast on it. And I was surprised, but that's like the really only thing, like the only memory I have is just catching a fish first cast on this nice little swim bait. I only have one complaint about the swim bait is right there. You can kind of see how the color fades from like super nice, vibrant neon green down to like basically transparent plastic. I've really only fished this bait maybe 2 or 3 times, not even hard either, like I'm not crashing it off of rocks or anything, and it's already starting to lose its coloring, which is a little bit disappointing, just to say, because I spent like 15 bucks on it. But other than that, it's really good bait, good weight, sinks really slow, surprisingly. Like this thing, like it's heavy, but in the water super slow, and you can reel it slow and it still gets like full like tail action. Like you don't have to like reel it really fast, so it doesn't need a lot of speed to get going, like to get that tail really flopping. Yeah, so that's a good Bass Pro Shop swim bait. Just brought a memory back of catching one first cast, and I thought it was gonna be like money for the rest of the day. I only caught one on it all day, but it was nice to catch one first cast. This bait is our 5th bait, final bait of this video. Now, you're going to probably think it's going to be something cool, right? It's just a topwater frog. So, don't remember what brand it is, but let's talk about the story behind this sucker. My sister and I flew down to Florida, and my grandma was in a house down there, like, in the Villages, and I fished a couple of days during the day, like hot, didn't catch anything. I hooked into probably a 10-pounder, not lying, okay? Literally the biggest fish of my life. And down there they have thick grass in these ponds. And I think I had 10-pound braid on this spinning rod that was like, I don't know. It's not like a heavy action. Like I think it's actually like medium, but it got stuck in the grass and I had to break the fish off. I was so mad for the rest of the day. But I think it was the night before that actually. We went out, just me, not we. I went out super late at night, and like it was probably 1 in the morning down in the Villages, and I only had this with me in case like. Because there's like a curfew in there, and yeah, you know, you're not really supposed to be out that late, and I only had this tied on. And I saw these bass underneath this bridge, like, the day before, and a lizard fell into the water, and the water down there is super clear, so I see this lizard, like, flopping around on the top water, and this huge bass comes up and ate it, and I was like, oh gosh. So like we'd throw like leaves in it and they would try to eat them, they'd spit them back out, but so I was like, okay, we gotta go topwater tonight. So I bring just this on a rod, and I was like, well, if I break off I'm screwed. And like these bass are big, like probably 5 or 6 pounds. And I didn't take into account that I was going to be, if I did catch one, I would have to hoist them up probably 6 feet onto the bank. That was like, it was like in a town, so it was all like cement, like block. And it was straight drop down into the water. So I was like, well, I'm going to have to get these fish up here somehow. And like first cast, you know, you rip it under there, underneath the bridge. I'm like standing like parallel to like the canal that the bridge was over. And I casted it down. I'm reeling back. Nothing first cast. And I can't see anything. So second cast, all you hear is, and you're like, oh crap. So you set the hook, and there's this huge, like, just fish head just coming at you. You're like, trying to keep it above the water, like gliding on top of the water so it doesn't dive into the grass. And I managed to land that. And I landed about maybe 2 or 3 other fish. And that was actually the first YouTube video I ever made. And that was on some Mike Horn YouTube channel or something. It wasn't Pond Hoppin' PA, but it had like 16 views in the first day, so I was like, yeah, I took it down. I actually ended up getting not like arrested, but like the neighborhood watch guy came up to me and was like, "Hey, you can't be fishing here." And I was like, "Oh shoot, man, my bad." So I had to leave anyway. It was called like busted fishing in Florida or something, and I caught probably like 3 or 4 nice, like 4, 5, 6 pounders, and I wasn't mad. It was great. I'd love to go back and do it again. Maybe not 6 o'clock in the morning. 1 o'clock in the morning, not 6, my bad. So, a couple days later, I take the same frog down to a different pond, and like, it was thick grass. Like, you could not see anything. I saw a few big bass swimming around in there, but that was about it. No action. And I cast it out as far as I can on this spinning rod. I'm reeling back in. All of a sudden, I thought it was a huge fish. Jumps out of the water, eats it. I don't see anything yet except all the grass moving out of the way. And I'm reeling in, and this fish is covered in grass when I get it to the bank. And I'm like, I go to grab the fish, and like, I see this giant tail coming out of the grass, and I'm like, oh, that's not a fish. So I take the grass off of its body slowly, and it turns out it's an alligator, probably 3.5 feet long. And I like rip my shirt off, throw it on the alligator's head, like pin the alligator's mouth shut, and I pick it up, and I had these like tiny little trout pliers, like to get out like barbless hooks out of a trout, like. And I was trying to get these big freaking frog hooks out of an alligator's jaw. But anyway, I was trying to get these big hooks out of an alligator's jaw, right? And I'm like bent, and these pliers are like separating, like they're bad, like they're almost breaking. And I wanted this lure back, you know, as a memory. And I ended up getting the hook out of its mouth, and I called my sister, and she was with my cousin and her friend. I was like, "Yo, you got to come to this pond right now." I'm right across from like the workout center. Like, you got to get here. And she's like, "Why?" And I'm like, "Just come here and just take a picture." And she's like, "All right, whatever." So I see the golf cart roll up, and I'm like running to them with this alligator in my hand. I'm like, and they're like freaking out. They're like, what? You have an alligator? And I'm like, yeah, well, you just got to get a picture of it. So, once they take a picture, and I called my mom. I was like, "Mom, I have an alligator." She's like, "What?" And I was like, I gotta go. I'm catching this alligator. And we finally have the alligator. They get a picture. Everything is safe and sound. And like, everyone was freaking out. Like, I released the alligator. I got back to the house. Everybody was like, "You caught an alligator? You're not allowed to leave again. You might catch a bigger one and get eaten." And I was like, "Oh, we'll be fine." And no joke, the week after I got home back in Pennsylvania, after we left Florida, my grandma was still in Florida, and she sent me a newspaper article in the mail that said, "Fisherman's foot bit off by alligator." And I was like, that could have been me. But, hey, if you're ever alligator fishing, you know, down there in the freaking villages, you know, just pop on this topwater frog. You're gonna get plenty of bites, man. When the bass aren't biting, start going for gators. It's fine.